Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about now or never for Erik ten Hag. Pochettino talks are believed to have happened now, and also a manager rules themselves out of the running for the Manchester United manager's job. We'll also be talking about this story about Anthony Martial potentially going to Dortmund, a little bit on Harry Kane as well, and some comments from Manchester United players about their future and their current status at Manchester United. But before we start, I just want to say as well, I was speaking to a Liverpool friend of mine this morning. Some people would say you shouldn't have a friend who's a Liverpool fan, but I've known them most of my life. And they were saying that they don't want us to get Ten Hag, they want us to get Pochettino. And I think that that's it's an anecdote, it's a little bit of a story, whatever, but I do think you get a lot of truth from rival fans. And the vast majority of rival fans want us to get Pochettino and they don't want us to get Ten Hag. It's very much like when they used to look at the team news and go they'd want Fellaini to play rather than Herrera. It's because something's better than the other. That's as simple as that. But before we get into the news, let me just say I'm wearing my dashing Boohooman Active range because today's show is sponsored by Boohooman Active. Boohooman Active is all about looking good and feeling great when you're being active. This could be when you're at the gym, going for a walk, streaming to thousands of people like me, or just playing some important FIFA 22, which I've got to do in about an hour's time on TUSFC on Twitch. So because tonight England are playing Ivory Coast, we're going to do some more England active trivia actually. So get in the chat and let me know which 3 England players you think covered the most distance in the Euro 2020 tournament. A little clue. None of them are from United. I wonder if there's a theme there that United players don't cover much different distance. Who are the top 3 England players to cover the most distance in the Euros in 2020, which was actually in 2021? And I would go CDMs. I think first of all. Obviously not Ward-Prowse because they didn't bloody take him, Prattgate, but you know, there you go. So looking at the chat, a few people are getting in there, but I can tell you the answers are this. Raheem Sterling covered 68 kilometres in third place. Harry Kane covered 74 kilometres. I didn't think he covered very much, to be honest with you. And in first place, Goldbridge is right. It was a CDM and it was Calvin Phillips with 83 kilometres covered. There you go. Very energetic CDM. United need one of those. Don't know whether I'd go for Calvin Phillips though. Well done to everyone who got that right. And as always, because Boohooman love all the amazing people that watch the United Stand, when you use the code EXTRA at checkout, you will get your 40% off. Plus, you will get an additional 10% off after the discount has been applied. This extra 10% off applies to everything on the site except for certain sale items. So thanks so much to Boohooman for supporting the show. Make sure you hit the link in the description and check out what they have to offer. Let me just make sure that link is in the description, which it is. And actually what I can do as well is I can do this because we do this these days and it works really, really well. Let me do it. Ta-da! As if by magic, you can also scan the code to get your 40% off plus your extra 10% as well. And as you can see, I'm in my Boohooman Activewear range. Thank you very much to Boohooman for being interactive with us and giving our audience something to think about as well as being a sponsor of the show. Thank you everyone for that. So let's get straight into the show. Let's talk about what is going on at Manchester United now or never. Lopetegui, who is the manager of currently, who does he even manage? Who does he manage? It's Sevilla, isn't it? I always get Sevilla mixed up with Emery at Villarreal. So the Sevilla coach Lopetegui, who's got Anthony Martial at the moment on loan, he has come out and said that he'll be at Sevilla next season. Good. I could have told him that for free, because you're not going to be a Man United manager, but he has been a manager that's always been linked to us for God knows what reason, with Luis Enrique as well. But yeah, he's come out and said that he will be at Sevilla next season. There is progression on the talks. Apparently, there's still, look, we had Fabrizio on the show yesterday. He said that those face-to-face talks hadn't happened with Pochettino yet. However, there is still reports from France coming in that those face-to-face talks have taken place with Pochettino and they have been positive. But we had Fabrizio on the show yesterday. He seemed to be leaning positively towards Erik ten Hag and how much he'd impressed the club in his interview. Manchester Evening News are saying that Erik ten Hag is the preferred candidate by the football people at Manchester United and seems to be the favourite. So I think we're in a point now with Manchester United and this managerial appointment that it's now or never. And I wanted to talk about that because I think, Sean, who do you want as the Man United manager? Says Eric. I don't know who he's talking to, Sean. And Nate, thank you very, very much for joining the members club. And Iron says, I want Ten Hag, but Poch has been getting a lot of stick. Got to a semi-finals with PSG, beat Bayern on the way, and PSG, Tuchel, lost a final as well. Arjun, can I just explain something to you about this? I'm not interested in your Pochettino sympathy club. And you've almost done it at the right time because you've got me angry now. I'm not interested in your Pochettino sympathy club. You know what? Second place is for losers. I want to win. Pochettino, semi-final. Ooh, Pochettino got to a semi-final for PSG. Ooh, shit. Bloody give him the United job. There's a big difference between a semi and a full-on. And what I'm talking about is there's a big difference between a semi-final and a final. Stop comparing Tuchel to Poch. It's really, really offensive. Tuchel is on a different street to Pochettino. They both managed PSG. Tuchel took them to a final. Pochettino didn't. Semi, quarter, not even quarter. There's a big difference. And also, Pochettino messed up massively with one of the world's best ever players, with Neymar, Mbappe and Messi. You know, he's not been able to do it. And he didn't do it at Spurs either. So I've got no sympathy for Pochettino, because the minute you give him sympathy is the minute the club start thinking, ooh, maybe you should go for Pochettino. The reality is, it's now or never to get this decision right. Poch developed Kane, Telly Ali, Son, Rash. Rash is a Pochettino fan. Come on. We need some chats from the Ten Hag people, because we've got the Poch Sympathy Club in here today. The list is endless. Meanwhile, all Ten Hag talents have flopped outside the Eredivisie, says Rash. Yeah, De Jong's flopped. De Ligt's flopped. Yeah, you're absolutely right. ZX flopped as well. Maybe do your research before you expose yourself as a prat. And Matt Ross says, wasn't the whole point of appointing Rangnick to help choose a new manager? If the board go against Ten Hag choice, doesn't this show either way the board are serious or not, says Matt Ross. And it's not sympathy cup. I said I want Ten Hag. Tuchel losing a final isn't called a bottle job. Poch took Spurs to a final and bottled a final, says Arjun. Arjun, I don't know what you're on about, but you've got a Poch sympathy t-shirt on. I can imagine you now typing away with a Poch in t-shirt and picture Poch all around your wall. And we want Poch. Anyway, this is going to be a fun show, I can tell. I'm in that groove. So, let me get back on track. This is a serious point. It's now or never for Manchester United. Rangnick wants Ten Hag. Most people want Ten Hag. He is the favoured candidate by the board at the moment, and he's done a fantastic interview. It's there. It's there. Ten Hag as Man United manager is there. I still think they're going to go for Pochettino because I'm a cynic. But Pochettino, Eric Ten Hag as Man United manager, it's within touching distance. It's exciting and it's within touching distance. And how can they mess it up? You know, that's got to be the thing. But why is it now or never, Mark, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you why it's now or never. It's now or never because if we do get this managerial appointment wrong, we are nearly 10 years without a title. Next summer, 10 years without a title. We're not going to win the title next year, regardless of who the manager is. So it'll be 10 years without a title. 10 years without a title with a new manager that's the wrong manager. Now, if we give Pochettino the job, for example, he will be in place for 3 years because that's the cycle. Mourinho, Ollie, Van Gaal didn't quite make it, but we normally give them 3 years. So that'll be 13 years without a title. All the damage of getting it wrong. I mean, Mourinho damaged us in the end. Ollie massively damaged us. 3 years at Poch, if it goes wrong like many predicts, that's more damage. You're coming from a position of 13 years without a title, but 3 more years of damage. You drop yourself even further. I mean, and people would say, how can we get any further worse than this? But we just you get worse by becoming more and more irrelevant. And also, think of the players that are up for new contracts as well that we keep at the club. Think of the youth players that won't get opportunities because we keep the shit at the club. This is now or never. It's not just about the manager. It's about the right decision against the wrong decision. And if they make the wrong decision, it's going to set us back even further from where we are now. This managerial appointment can either be day dot and a brand new Manchester United, or it can be a continuation of the last 6 years under Mourinho and Ollie, where it's the wrong course to go down at the wrong time. Mourinho was the right manager at the wrong time, I would say that. Ollie was the wrong manager at the wrong time, and Pochettino, for me, is the wrong manager at the wrong time. He was the right manager at the right time probably 3 or 4 years ago. He's not now. And if you compound those mistakes over the next 3 years, you take yourself further down the line, further away from where we are, further away from a proper reset, and further away from rebuilding that team. Because it's not just about the managerial appointments. It's about the progress the team makes from day dot over the next 3 years. And it's also about the ability to clean house. There are players I don't want to name that will stay at this football club for the entirety of Pochettino's reign, and then probably beyond that. Some of these players, and it doesn't get spoken about enough, Pochettino has achieved less than Ollie. There is a genuine argument in that. It's infinite. It's a scary argument. Pro Ten Hag here, but it's not that Poch is a bad coach. It's that he represents more of the same. Well signed Kane and Rice and continue boring football, says Noah. Arjun, the only thing Poch has won is a Manager of the Year award in 2019. Do we want him? No. Ten Hag all the way, says Slow Sports News. Poch is over the metaphoric hill. Ten Hag is the only option to get us back on track. We need a new direction. Poch will spend loads to be mediocre, says Dasbo. I think that one thing that gets missed out here, and I think it's really, really important, is that people talk about respective managers' success in Europe, in the Champions League. They talk about the domestic success. They talk about their style of football. All these are relevant points. But one of the most relevant points is squad evolution. I don't hear this being discussed at all. Squad evolution is really important. I look at that United squad, you look at that United squad, ex-players, media look at that United squad, and I think we would all agree it needs trimming. To what extent? 50%, 25%, 100% of the squad needs trimming? I would say it needs major surgery. It needs, I would say, from that first team squad of about, your typical match day squad of 18 players, I would say we need to trim over the next 2 or 3 years 75% of it. I wouldn't get rid of 75% in the first summer. I'd probably go 20% and then another, and do it gradually. But yeah, the long-term plan, and again, my eyes are wide open to this. I don't expect a quick fix. I feel that that's what United want. Let's buy Harry Kane and let's win the title. That's not going to happen. We've tried that with Pogba. We've tried it with Ronaldo. We've tried it with other players. One big signing and let's win the league. It's not going to work. It's got to be bottom to top, like Sir Alex did. Build it properly from top to bottom so it's sustainable. Erik Ten Hag would be very good at this. Ajax has a better structure, and I think this is a great point. We're trying to rebuild Rome. Poch should have come after Mourinho to salvage. We are so down. We can't scrap anything to even start to rebuild. Get Ten Hag to slip. If we get Poch, we'll blow 200 million on Kane and Rice and still finish outside the top 4, says Paul. And ex-players want Poch, fans want Ten Hag. Board has absolutely no idea. Whoever we sign, we're in for one of the most toxic seasons, says Dipak. I don't think we are, because I think actually, whatever you think about whether fans should be listened to or not, an ex-player being toxic on BT or Sky or in a newspaper is not going to have the sympathy or voice that the vast majority of the fan base is going to have. I mean, as an example, if an ex-player is pro-Pochettino and most of the fan base isn't, most people are not going to be pro-Pochettino, aren't they? If it's all about shirt sales, wouldn't it make more sense to get Ten Hag and develop players who can become shirt sellers? So Stephen, great point. Talking like Ten Hag hasn't bottled anything, Mark. 2019, knocked out in the semis after being up 3-0, knocked out from Benfica at home this year, says Peter McLaren. Another Poch we're getting all the Poch sympathisers here today, aren't we? Okay, so I can answer that one, Peter. I mean, I'm mid sort of conversation here. But he lost to Spurs from a position, yeah, but they overachieved to get to the semi-final anyway. That Spurs team was better than the Ajax team on paper, and they overachieved as a young side. Then they did bottle it, yeah. Against Benfica, they did bottle it, but look at the way the games were played. Benfica and Spurs basically smashed and grabbed both those games. You guys gas up Erik Ten Hag for the Dutch league wins. No manager from that league. No, I'm not. I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm not gassing him up for that. I've always compared his Champions League record. I don't really talk about his Dutch league record. I want Ten Hag, but Poch could stay with PSG or Madrid. I feel you're pointing out issues on Poch just so the board have no excuses to get him. He's not going to stay at PSG and he's not going to go to Real Madrid either, Arjun. Arjun, Go and kiss your Poch picture on the wall. What are you talking about? He's going to stay at PSG. They're an ambitious club. They ain't keeping a failure. This needs to be spoken about more. PSG have got no intention of keeping Pochettino. He's a twice sacked manager. If you want to take the gloves off and start talking properly, I can be respectful to Poch. He is a good coach, but I can also tell you the truth. Sacked by Spurs, about to be sacked by PSG. Twice sacked manager coming to our club. At least Mourinho had only been sacked by Chelsea. We're going for a twice sacked manager. Don't talk to me about Madrid or PSG keeping him. He's done. For the board, Poch is the one that got away. I'm sick of second-hand managers. Matt Ross, you second-hand manager. That needs to stick. It's like the pink boots. It's like your bloody Pratt. Second-hand manager. That's what he is. He is a second-hand manager. You're right, because he's sacked. He's twice sacked. But look, let's stop the banter, because I think people will get upset. Let's get it back on track to what I was talking about. What Manchester United need to do is rebuild that club from top to bottom. It's now or never. If you get Pochettino and it goes wrong in 3 years' time, which I think it will, because he won't be able to deliver a title, and ultimately that's what Manchester United need to do. I think at best, Pochettino will get us in the top 4 a couple of times, but wouldn't be nowhere near winning titles, and people will just say, well, Ollie did this ain't good enough, and it will just go wrong. But that's not what we want. We want better than that. What Man United need to do is they need to rebuild the club from bottom to top. I don't see Pochettino as that person. I don't really think he built Spurs from top to bottom. I think he did a good job there, but I don't think that was really what he was about. And it's certainly not been what he's about at PSG. Ten Hag is a very specific coach. If you manage Ajax, it's a footballing education. You've got to be a certain type of manager. You've got to be in tune with your club's philosophy, with your youth system, and a developer of talent to sell that talent. Now, that may not fit with Manchester United's vision in the sense that we want to win titles. But it's the closest thing to what we actually need. What we need is a manager to come in and over the next 3 to 5 years, build that club from top to bottom, so that there is an identifiable system in place, an identity of the club where the youth feed through to the first team, and we develop talent. Now, I was never Louis van Gaal's biggest fan in the end, but one of the things I always said, he was the one that started United buying young players, 15, 16-year-olds across Europe and England. We started doing it and we've continued to do it. That didn't start under Moyes, it started under Van Gaal. Van Gaal was also the manager that wanted the youth setup and the system to mirror the first team setup. And these are the sort of principles that actually are good principles regardless of what you think about Van Gaal. Now, I wanted Van Gaal to be sacked in the end, but he did win an FA Cup and get sacked. Like, it was time to go, but I think Van Gaal was not the man he was 10 years before. He'd fell off. But Erik ten Hag could be the Van Gaal appointment how it was meant to be. Louis van Gaal was the right man at the wrong time. He was past it, basically. But the principles he brought in were very similar to what Sir Alex Ferguson did. I'm a manager for a project. I'm here for a long time. I'm going to rebuild this club from top to bottom. And with Erik ten Hag, he's got the better CV than Pochettino. Because if you've managed Ajax, that is the principle of Ajax. It is to be in touch with the youth development all the way through to the first team, and to acquire talent and develop within a system that the whole club is absolutely understanding. Hi Mark, do you think that they gave Ten Hag an interview just to appease the Ten Hag stands in the club, says Silu. Ultimately, the club can do whatever they want to do, but the situation is dangerous because, let me just play that out because I think it's a great question. If the club were interviewing Erik ten Hag to appease the fans and then say Poch is the better candidate, that's the worst thing in the world to do, and I don't think the club are that stupid. Because what's happened amongst all that? We've had Fabrizio Romano on yesterday saying what a fantastic interview Erik did and how impressed the club were. You've got people like Samuel Luckhurst and others in the British press saying that the interview that Erik ten Hag did was fantastic. He's the preferred candidate at the moment. He's the favourite to get the job. So if you were just interviewing him to appease the fans, you would interview him and say, yeah, his interview wasn't that impressive. You'd drop a negative. They've dropped a positive. as I said, it was great what Fabrizio said on the show yesterday, and it was great what a lot of the press was saying at the back end of last week about him giving a good interview, because I was told on the Wednesday morning that, and I think I said it on the show a week ago, that I'd been told he'd blown them away. If you go back to last Wednesday's shows where I'm talking about it, I was taught the words blown away. He blew the board away with his interview. So I don't think they've interviewed him to appease the fans. I think he's been interviewed and he's blown them away. And that's consistently all the good, whether you want to believe me, who I've spoken to, or you want to just listen to credible people, whatever. The reality is he's done an interview and he's blown the United board away. And he's the fan favourite and all those things. So whatever happens, if we don't appoint him, he's in that position where he's done the perfect interview and a lot of people want him to get the job, and United decide to go with Pochettino, twice sacked Pochettino. Whether you're a fan, I'm not being disrespectful to Pochettino there. I'm just saying there's a guy here that a lot of people want to manage United in Erik ten Hag. He's done the interview. He's been fantastic. He's told them about the structure, about how he would rebuild the club, about the vision he's got for the club and how he wants to take it to where it needs to be. He's done the interview. He's got the support. Pochettino, yesterday's man really, twice sacked, Spurs PSG. People feel he's falling down the cliff a little bit. Obviously, he retains support of some fans, a lot of ex-players and some people within the club. But the buzz around him is low. The only buzz around him is the flies. The buzz around Ten Hag is because he's flying high. He's flying high. He's got loads of support behind him. He's exciting. He's done a fantastic interview. That's the truth. I can't influence the decision. You can't influence the decision. But the reality is, Erik ten Hag is buzzing high from the excitement and good interview, and lots of people want him to be the manager. That appointment will create a lot of buzz. As I said, a lot of my friends who don't support United don't want us to appoint Ten Hag, which is a big reason to do it. And then you got Pochettino, who's not going to really create much buzz. People are going to be like, I'm glad they've got him. And sure, I don't know the answer, but what I'm saying is that it would be a really weird situation for the club to go for the lower option when there's so much buzz around the other option, and he's done a good job. Tuchel is also a second-hand manager with that logic. No one would go near him before the Chelsea job, and you made these points when Ollie left, says Arjun. Arjun, you finished snogging your Poch pitch, I see. You've come back with another one. Get back on Google and find another reason to come back at me. So Tuchel's a second-hand manager, and he's not been sacked twice. You know what second means? Two. Means two. Tuchel's not been sacked twice. Tuchel got sacked by PSG. And then he's come to... actually, I might have made a mistake there. Did Tuchel get sacked by Dortmund? I think he might have done. Someone in the chat know me, and I'll answer that question. Why United board dragging all this out, says the Honest Tiger. There is no difference between David Moyes, Everton, and Pochettino Spurs if people still think he's Premier League proven, and look what happened with Moyes, says Tanvir. But what I would say to Anjan, whether he's right about him being sacked twice or not, you can all get on Arjan's side if you want and say he sat me down, but I will repeat what I keep saying. You cannot compare Pochettino to Ten Hag. You're a fucking idiot if you're doing it. Like, I'm sorry to swear, but you're a fucking idiot if you are comparing Ten Hag to Pochettino. You're telling me Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, should appoint Pochettino because Ten Hag's been sacked twice and one of them was PSG. Oh my God. Oh my God. If that's your reasoning, you're a fucking idiot. I've said it 3 times, and you are, because we're talking about styles of play, how they'll rebuild the club, whether they're at the top of the mountain or on the way down, what their record is like in the Premier League, in this Premier League proven myth, whether top clubs would go for Poch or whether they'd go for Ten Hag, what sort of signings they're going to make. All relevant points with different levels of importance, I suppose. But comparing Tuchel to Poch because they both got sacked by PSG is idiocy. It really is idiotic. You cannot come anywhere and argue that. Pub, here, TV, anywhere. That is irrelevant. And you know why it's irrelevant? Because it's what I've said all along. Shall we go and buy Southampton's right winger because Liverpool bought Mane and he's become world class? There's no context. They've not got the same mother. They've not got the same father. They didn't go to the same training school. They're not the same nationality. They're just two human beings who got sacked by the same club. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Some fans that want Poch miss Ollie. They are addicted to being mediocre, says Harris. Well, Slow Sports News. Slow Sports News. Breaking news. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still hasn't been offered a job since he left Manchester United. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Tuchel and Poch is the same. Mate, I'm not getting into that argument. It's completely and utterly stupid. And I'm not getting into it because it's thick. And if that's the sort of if that's what our community's become, it's time to go. It's time to piss off. I want that 8,000 to go down to 7,000, because if we've got 1,000 idiots in here who genuinely think we should be appointing Pochettino because Tuchel got sacked, you're lost. Football's not for you. It really isn't. You're completely and utter lost. But we will have people who want Pochettino to be our manager. Also, we've got a lot of people in the chat who are not United fans. They watch the United Stand because their club's content is shit. So they watch the United Stand and they come on here because it's the only entertainment they get. And I get that. And also, I think that is a very valid point. We have got a lot of rival fans who are desperate for us to appoint Pochettino. Every time I do a tweet about Pochettino, I get loads of shit from Spurs fans. Loads of Spurs fans give me shit protecting Poch because he's a legend. He's a legend at a club that wins nothing. I mean, if you want. I mean, there's more than enough reasons why I don't want Pochettino. But if you want a sentence, he's a legend at a club that wins nothing, because he won nothing, but he nearly did. Great. There is a reason Erik ten Hag is 52 and only has managed in the Eredivisie. No. I'm not reading it, mate. You've had your point. You're not coming up with anything new. When I discuss things, I discuss different strands. I don't go over the same thing. We're on to ageism now. We've compared Tuchel to Poch is the same as Tuchel because they got sacked by PSG. That's a load of shit. Now we're talking about their age, ageism. Basically, ageism is now a reason to go with Pochettino. Tuchel was sacked because of his problems with the board, says Blues. And common sense twice, sack Poch and two biggest club interests in Ten Hag to coach their Man United board, says Alison's TV channel. So I want to move it on anyway because we'll just keep going round and round. But the reality is that Erik ten Hag is the right man for Manchester United, and only an idiot would think that is not the case. I want to talk about the situation around signings. Harry Kane, obviously, we spoke about yesterday. I don't really see the point in going in on Harry Kane again, but I do think that obviously this is the sort of signing that a certain Pochettino would want. And look, I probably didn't clarify this as much yesterday. I think it came across that I don't want Harry Kane. I think anybody would want Harry Kane. Pep Guardiola wanted Harry Kane. I'm sure Klopp would find a place for Harry Kane and his team. I don't think there's many teams in world football that wouldn't want Harry Kane. So I'm not going to sit here as a team that's competing for Europa League or or Conference League football and say I don't want Harry Kane. I think it's the issue with signing Harry Kane is that it's the wrong signing. You know, we've mentioned the right signing at the wrong time or the wrong signing at the right time or whatever bollocks that is. The point is, in relation to Harry Kane, he is the right signing at the wrong time for United this summer. We've never spent, I don't know what the biggest net spend is at Manchester United, but it's never normally north of 100 million. So if our net spend's going to be 100 million, that means we could spend 150 if we sell another £50 million worth of talent, but we're probably gonna, if we're lucky, we'll spend about 150 million. Well, 100 of that's going on Harry Kane straight away. If you said to me, we'll get a holding midfielder, we'll get a centre back, and we'll get a winger, and we'll still spend £100 million on Harry Kane, thumbs up, let's do the deal. But that's not going to happen, is it? You're not going to spend 50 on a CDM, maybe 40 on a winger, and maybe 30 on a centre-back, because that's 120 million, and then you're going to spend another £100 million on Harry Kane. That's just not going to happen. So I do like Harry Kane. I don't want to upset Spurs fans anymore because I've already had a go at their legend who wins nothing. But in relation to Harry Kane, there's no doubt he's a world-class striker. But for 100 million quid, also I don't really like his age. Really, I'm being ageist now, but with players you can be because they have a shelf life. But I feel that he's a fantastic striker, but it would be the wrong signing for United because it would be a shirt-selling signing. Noah says the PSG Tuchel argument is just lazy. It's also minuscule compared to the important facts: style of play, youth development, reputation. Do your research, says Noah. Well, I suppose as well, there's a really good point there, Noah, which I'm going to come back to. De Boer did sick in the same league and flopped. Here we go. I mean, just Rash, please stop. Please stop. Like this. You can't compare. They contradict each. Have you ever noticed that these Poch sympathisers, they absolutely. Arjun is all right. He's a good lad. He says it's been a good debate. I just think both joints should be viewed. Arjun, I've loved your comments. Applause to you. Arjun's a legend anyway. I don't mind people having different opinions to me, and it makes the show. Ferguson, Wenger, Mourinho, Pep, Klopp, Conte, Pellegrini all came from outside the Premier League and won a Premier League title. Premier League bias is a joke, says Andrew. What was it that Noah said? Because my mind's buzzing around here. I think City faked interest in Harry Kane last summer, just like they did with Fred, Sanchez and Maguire. Can you remember what Noah said? Because I need to come back to that, but there's another point as well. This is what happens when you've got so many people putting so many comments in. It's really, really difficult. But in relation to, we just had a comment from, was it Neku there, saying that Frank de Boer came to the Premier League and failed. So therefore Ten Hag's going to fail. But that's obviously a pro-Poch thing. But they tie themselves up in knots because they want us to compare Poch to Tuchel because they both got sacked. But then they want to compare Frank de Boer to Ten Hag. It's flawed. You can't compare. Neither of them work. Frank de Boer's not Eric Ten Hag's brother. And Poch is not Tuchel's brother. They're just they're four people that have managed similar clubs with completely different mentalities, completely different abilities. Like, you can't compare two different managers anyway. You can't compare Pep and Klopp because they are the best two managers in the Premier League. They're completely different. One of them has cornflakes, one of them has toast. Like, they're different. I suppose the only thing I would say is, if Tuchel said, I'm leaving Chelsea, I'm leaving, I've had enough, do you think Chelsea would go, oh, well, we got Tuchel from PSG when they sacked him. Let's get Poch. Fucking no way. Forget United. There's no way Chelsea are going to go, well, we got Tuchel from PSG when he was sacked. Let's get Poch as his replacement. Like, they're not going to think of it like that. They're not. And I tell you what, I thought Tuchel was a massive risk. I really didn't think he was going to work. I said in 18 months he'll be sacked. He won't work. I didn't really think Tuchel was that good. And he's done a fantastic job. But I would never compare him to Pochettino. They're worlds apart. Poch is a Woodward choice and represents more of the same, says Wang. Hey, you know what? That's a fair point. I mean, whatever you think. And look, I love the debate. I love the fact is, for everyone who's disagreeing in there, there's no abuse in there. There's nothing like that. So I don't care if you want Pochettino seriously. It's your opinion, and I actually respect that. But you're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change your mind, and that's the brilliance of it. It really is. But Batman says, I guess Piers Morgan and the class of '92 lads have unleashed the Poch force on you today. Yeah, I have been in a bit of a debate with Piers Morgan, but that's for a different channel. That's not for a football channel. But I'm pro Enrique, not Poch. Don't put me in with them, says Neku. Hey, you know what? Enrique's a great appointment. I'll repeat what I said this morning. I would love it if it was Enrique against Ten Hag because I can't lose. I suppose, you know what it is, and I can read this to you very, very clearly. The problem with this managerial decision is it's now or never, like the thumbnail says. It's so important, and Pochettino represents more of the same. He's a very similar type of appointment to Mourinho. He's had better days. Is he finished? Has he still got it? it feels like that. Erik ten Hag feels like a completely different idea, a completely different future. It's more exciting, and whereas if it was Erik ten Hag and Luis Enrique, I think the futures are very similar. Like, they're not the same. I would never compare two managers and say they're the same. They're not. But if we got Enrique, it would be the same as ten Hag. It just feels like a different direction, whereas Pochettino represents more of the same. And that's the thing. I wish it was ten Hag and Enrique, because I really wouldn't be that stressed. I'd be like, I have a preference, but if we go with the other one, I can deal with that. I wish we had two candidates that I could go, yeah, I'm not. And I suppose that represents probably where a lot of people are. I'm not obsessed with getting Erik ten Hag. He is my preferred option, but if we didn't get ten Hag and we got Enrique, I would still be happy, because I think Enrique represents a lot of the positives that ten Hag does as well. My issue is we've got this really nice, exciting light in ten Hag and Enrique, and then we've got the darkness with Pochettino, where I just don't think he's at it anymore. I don't think he's that manager anymore. And also, even at his best, what did he do? He's so confusing, Pochettino, because people want to say, well, he's won it. He's going to win the French League. Yeah, I could win the French League. Well, he's Premier League proven. Yeah, he didn't win anything. And his away record and record against the top six is abysmal. But going back to what somebody said there, of course, I don't think it really hits home with many fans, but Pochettino is Ed Woodward's choice. And Pochettino is Gary Neville's choice. And Pochettino is other ex-players, and he's the media's choice. And I just think that, unfortunately, over recent years, Ed Woodward, certain ex-players, the media, have been so wrong on United. You can't trust those opinions, and I think that damages Pochettino. Imagine if it was the other way, and I don't think we've really discussed this. Imagine if all the ex-players wanted Erik ten Hag and all the fans wanted Pochettino. The same thing would happen. People would be like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, we know. The reality is that a lot of the people that are pro Pochettino, apart from some of our fans, who I don't know personally, so I'm not putting you in that camp, but a lot of the people, whether it's the media, people within the club, ex-players who are pro Pochettino, it's not because we don't like them, it's because their opinions, certainly on Solskjaer and others, over the years, has been proven wrong. So Pochettino's got the wrong people championing him. That doesn't help him. And of course, he represents Ed Woodward. Ed Woodward wanted Pochettino. He was obsessed by Pochettino. Look through. All you need to do is put Ed Woodward Pochettino into Google, and you'll see loads of articles over the last 5 years of Ed Woodward's love for Pochettino. So, and that is a damaging thing as well. That would be if I was Richard Arnold, that would be my number one. I'd have a big list of why I should appoint Erik ten Hag and not Pochettino. But number one would be, this was a manager that we were obsessing about for years with a CEO who failed. Do you want to? I don't care where you work. If I'm the new boss of somewhere and I need to get a new manager, and I don't necessarily mean in football, but if I'm the new CEO and I need a new manager of my office block or whatever like that, am I going to go and appoint the person the previous CEO is going to appoint, or am I going to get my own person in? And that's why it's now or never, and that's why it's a massive moment for United, because if Arnold does appoint Pochettino, we know that that's somebody that Woodward would have wanted. That's basically making you the Aldi Ed Woodward. That's making you the lazy CEO. That you've come into the job and just gone with what the previous one would have done, who failed. Surely if you're replacing a failed CEO, you should be going in a completely different direction. What better way to do that than to appoint the manager that the previous CEO wouldn't have done? Let's see. If Ten Hag comes in, the board need to back him, otherwise he will not be able to compete with Klopp and Pep. United need a manager that will develop us, says Josh. Well, that's step two. That's step two. Do you still want Brendan Rodgers, Mark? No, you know what? I think this is a great point, and we're not doing a Q&A here. I wish we were, but focus on positive each management has. Poch has more positives in his CV. However, either appointment is good. Just because you don't want Poch, don't mean he's bad. Stanley, that's a very happy, shiny people holding hands. It's a really positive message, and I don't want to shit on it, but I will. We've spent 2 weeks talking about the positives and negatives of each manager, and I've told you I don't see the positives of Pochettino compared to Erik Ten Hag. I don't. He's a good coach, but I don't see the positives. He's Premier League proven means nothing. He's had one of the best front threes in world football history and failed. They should have walked the Champions League. Absolutely walked it, and he hasn't been able to do that. And his record in the Premier League is crap against when it comes down to it. I mean, do you want me to spell it out? When Pochettino plays decent teams, he messes it up. That's basically it. That's it. Whether it's Real Madrid in the Champions League, whether it's was it Man City in the semi-final last year, Spurs manager against the top six consistently loses. Liverpool in the Champions League final loses. When he plays the big teams when it matters, he comes up short. He's a very good flat track bully. He's very good at beating every team outside the top six and getting you top four. But against the top six and against the top eight in the Champions League, he ain't that good. He ain't that good. But he's not a bad coach. The scary thing is, what if the new CEO does not think the last CEO's tenure was a failure? So, yeah, well, exactly. We'll find out. I don't agree with this, but if it's a big if, United start to show some competence and hire better people at the club and we start winning things again, would you lessen your Glazer out stance, says Jamie? Look, everybody's got two things I want to answer here. Everyone's got the right to their own opinion. Don't ever let anybody tell you any different. If you're sat there at home like Arjun with your pictures of Pochettino, you do you. You do you. That's my biggest lesson. If it makes you happy and it's legal, you do you. That's the first thing I would say. In relation to the Glazers out movement, I know there's rumblings of protests. I personally don't agree with protests at this time. Mainly because we've done it. We did it last year, and as a fan base we did it, and it worked. But what's it going to achieve this time? We need a viable alternative to the Glazers. People should be putting their time and energy into finding a viable alternative to the Glazers. First of all, we need one of these billionaires that Chelsea have got to want to buy United. And then you get the fans together and you oost them. That's what you do. But that's what I would do. My opinion might be completely crap. What I will say is, if United appoint Erik Ten Hag, I'm not Glazers in, I'm not United board in, I'm not changing, but I'm having a look. At the moment, I think United's board and owners are a joke and really, really bad. If they appoint Erik Ten Hag, I'm going to go, oh, let's see. That's all I'm going to do. If they appoint Pochettino, I'm going to go, they're bad, they're rubbish, and probably some more words. But if they appoint Erik Ten Hag, I will acknowledge it and go, that's interesting. Let's see what happens next. And that's what I will do. And if they continue to make things, I might turn my attention and go, this is it. But I will acknowledge it. I've always said, if they appoint Erik Ten Hag, I will applaud it. Poch being Premier League tested is dumb. I go to a lot of NFL games. Does that mean I'm NFL tested, says Oz. Mourinho, after Spurs' tenure, said he inherited a squad from Poch that was filled with nice guys. Poch will continue a culture of failure, says Dan. He got sacked by Spurs. Anyway, look, we've spoken about that a lot. Can I just say, on Brendan Rodgers, I'm not shirking the question. Unfortunately, some people don't like this, but people change their opinions. And they change their opinions based on the time and facts. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would have probably took a lot of managers over him. And I really did want us to go for Brendan Rodgers, and I really did want us to go for Pochettino back in late October and November. Because we were desperate. We were absolutely desperate. And those two managers looked like they were available, and I was dead against an interim coach. And people like Luis Enrique and Erik Ten Hag and Zinedine Zidane and whoever else just was not available in November. They were not going to leave their clubs. But it apparently Pochettino wanted to. Brendan Rodgers was hinting at it a bit as well. So at that point, it was basically keep Ollie or try and get Rodgers and Pochettino. So of course I wanted Rodgers and Pochettino. But the minute they brought Ranić in and said we're going to wait till the summer was when I didn't want Pochettino and Rodgers anymore, because I was like, well, they can be on the list, but suddenly a lot of other managers are on the list. So wanting a manager back in November doesn't make me wrong. If we went back to November now, people would be going, yeah, let's get Rodgers, let's get Poch, because anything's better than Ollie, and they were available apparently, but they weren't. Now we've seen 5-6 months of results for Leicester which are shit. We've seen Pochettino not do particularly well, but ultimately it's because we're looking at a bigger hole now, and that's what it's all about. We're back at 7 o'clock tonight, 7 o'clock show tonight, because I'm doing the watch along for Portugal against North Macedonia. Massive game for Ronaldo. That'll be on That's Football, so make sure you tune in for that. But we're 7 o'clock here before. And I've got a massive game for TUSFC, second leg against Real Madrid in the Champions League quarter-final. I've already done better than Poch. If you know, you know. It's a very enjoyable career mode, but it's going to be a very stressful one. I'll tweet out the link off at Mark Goldbridge in about 5 minutes, but it's on Goldbridge TV on Twitch. And thanks very much to Boohoo Man. Really, really appreciate it for sponsoring the show. You can scan through the QR code. It actually does work. It's really clever. You just put your camera on your phone, click it, and it'll work. Give it a try. 40% off plus an additional 10%. You can be wearing some lovely Boohoo Man active stuff. In fact, I've been out for a bit of a run this morning. Well, I say a run. I ran up to the back of the garden because it was raining to get a pair of socks in. But look, I was active, and that's what it's all about. Bellingham's not going to happen, Isaac, because he won't leave this summer. But thanks everyone for watching. I've really enjoyed the debate. I really don't care if people disagree. You either get what this community is about or you don't. We can disagree. We can get a little bit hot under the collar, but respect is always there, and I do respect people's opinions, even if you're wrong. Big shout out to Boohoo Man. Please check it out. 40% off. We're back at 7. I'm going to be on Twitch now, and obviously we've got the watch along tonight, so lots to keep going. But it is now or never for United. Erik ten Hag, Pochettino, what you going to do? Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Bloody Poch. What are they bloody on about? Fucking... Those prats in charge. Fucking Poch. Get Poch in. 4th place. They fuck it up. Watch who'll be proved right when they fuck it up. It won't be me, lads and ladies. Pochettino. We love Poch. I love Poch. Sunshine Gary Neville. I love Poch. Yeah, I'll be free in about... Yeah, I should be... Yeah, let's do it now very, very quickly because I've got to do Twitch.